In today's lesson, we're going to be learning all about percentages. So percent means out of 100. And if we look at this first number here, which is 50%, we know that the number 50 is half of 100. And I can show this visually like this. So each section is 50. Now if I'm looking for 50% of it, that is going to be half of it that would be shaded, or 1 out of 2. With 10%, I would have 10 blocks, and each one of these blocks is 10%, and as a fraction that would look like 1 over 10. So 1 out of 10 is 10%. With 25%, I'm going to have one of these shaded, so 1 out of 4. With 5%, I would have 20 blocks, so that would give me 5 over 100, or I could simplify that to 1 over 20. And with 1%, I would have 1 coloured in out of 100 blocks. Now I can get those numbers that we just said by doing something very simple. So if I want 50% of something, I'm just going to divide it by 2. So if I had the number 60 and I divided it by 2, it would give me 30. 30 is 50% of 60. If I'm doing 10% of something, I've just got to divide it by 10. If I'm doing 25% of something, I'm going to divide it by 4. And you will notice that that is what we did as the fractions, just as the bottom number that we're dividing by. So with our 5%, we simplified it down to 1 over 20. So you can divide it by 10 and then divide it by 2. And if you're after 1% of something, which is 1 over 100 as a fraction, we're going to divide it by 100. So if we do a quick example here, if I have the number, let's do 80, so 50% of 80 means I'm going to divide it by 2, and 80 divided by 2 is 40. If I'm after 10%, I'm going to divide it by 10, and that would give me 8. For 25%, I'm going to divide it by 4. That's going to give me 20. If I'm after 5%, I'm going to divide it by 10, which I've already done, which gives me 8. Then divide that by 2, and that will give me 4. And finally, if I want 1%, then I'm going to do 80 divided by 100, which would give me 0.8. So we're going to try some questions now. The first one is 30% of 80. So the way to do this is to find 10% of 80 first, and we're going to do that by dividing by 10. So 10% of 80 is 8. We're then going to need to find another 10% and another 10%, and if we add that together, which will give us 30%, we're going to get 24. So the next one, have a go by yourself and then we'll go through the answers, is 85% of 80. Okay, so we're going to start off then finding 50% of 80, which is 40, and that gives us 35% left to find. So we're going to do 10%, another 10%, another 10%, and then 5%. And that, when you add it up together, is going to give us 68. So 85% of 80 is 68. Another one to try is 72% of 80. So have a little think by yourself and then we'll go through the answers. So we'll find 50% again, which is 40. Then we'll do 10% and 10%, and now we need 2%. So remember, to find 1%, we're going to divide it by 100, which would give us 0.8, and then we need 2% of that. So we're going to add all of that together, and that will give us 57.6. Got some questions here for you to try on your own. So if you pause the video, and then we're going to go through the answers together. So our first question is 50% of £60, and to find 50%, we're going to divide it by 2. So 60 divided by 2 is £30, and it's always important that you put your units, because if you just put 30, that's that's not going to get you marks because that could be 30 pigeons, 30 pies, who knows, you must put your units. So the next one is 10% of £20, and to find 10% we're going to divide it by 10, and 20 divided by 10 is £2. Then we've got 50% of 60 grams, so we're going to divide it by 2, and that will give us 30 grams. And finally, 50% of 10 metres, again, we're going to divide it by 2, so that will give us 5 metres. Next one, we're after 25% of 60 grams, so we're going to divide it by 4. And 25% of 60 grams, when we divide it by 4, is going to be 15 grams. For 1% of £300, we're going to divide it by 100. And if we divide 300 by 100, it's going to give us £3. And then we're after 5% of 60 kilograms. So to do this one, we can either divide it by 20, or to make it easy, we can divide it by 10, which would be £6, and then divide that by 2 to give us £3. Okay, on the next side, we've got 65% of £40. So start off with this one, we're going to want to do 50%, and 50% of 40 is £20. Then I'm going to do 10%, and 10% of 40 is £4. And then I want to do 5%, which is £2. And if I add all of that together, that's going to give me £26. My next one, I'm doing 40% of 80 grams. So 10% of 80 grams is 8 grams. I'm going to add a second set, third set, and a fourth set. So 8 times 4, which is going to give me 32 grams. Then I've got 81% of 30 metres. So we're going to start off with 50%, which is 15 metres. 10%, which is 3. I'm going to do another 2 of those. And finally, I'm after 1%. So 1%, I'm going to divide 30 by 100 to give me 0.3. And if I add all of that together, it's going to give me 24.3 metres. And my final one is 99% of £20. And what I'm going to do is find 1%. 1% of £20 is 20 divided by 100, which is 0.2. And I'm just going to take that away from 20 because that's going to be easier than doing 50%, adding all your tens. It's just going to be easier to take 1% away from £20, which will give me £19.80. So if you've got a calculator on you, there's 2 really easy ways that you can do percentages. So the first way that you can do is to find 1% of something and then times it by whatever number you're after. So for example, on our first question here, we're going to find 1% of £40. So if I do 40 divided by 100, it's going to give me 0.4. So 0.4 is 1%. And then I'm going to times that number by 65, which would give me 26. Another way that I can do it is to times it by 0.65. And the reason that I would do that is because 65% is 65 over 100. And 65 over 100 is 0.65. So if I tapped into my calculator, 40 times 0.65, it would also give me 26. Let's have a look at this next one, which is 40% of 80 grams. So again, if I'm doing, I would do 80 divided by 100, which would give me 0.8, which is 1%. I would then times that number by 40, which would be 32. Or I could just do 80 times 0.4, which would also be 32. On the next two, just to go through the examples, I would do 30 divided by 100, which would give me 0.3. And I'd then do 0.3 times 81, which is 24.3. Or again, I can do the version where I would do 30 times 0.81. Final example then, I could do 20 divided by 100, which would give me 0.2, and I could then times that by 99. Or I could do 20 times 0.99. So it's just a quicker way of doing what we've just done. Both methods work, whether you do it finding 10% and 50% and adding it together, or whether you just do this sum on a calculator. They're both good methods to know. So I've got some questions for you to try here now then. Now these are the reverse, so rather than asking you to find a percentage of something, it's giving you a number and you need to figure out what percentage that is instead. So I'm going to show you how to do the first one and then we'll try the other ones independently. So I'm looking for how much of a percentage £3 is of £10. So what I'll do is 3 over 10, so I'm doing the number that I'm after or that I'm using over the total, and then I'm going to times it by 100. So if I do 3 divided by 10, that'll give me 0.3, and if I times that by 100, it would give me 30%. So pause the video here, try these ones yourself, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so on the first one then, we've got 19 minutes of an hour, and remember that an hour is 60 minutes. So we're going to do 19 divided by 60 times 100. And if you were to type that in onto your calculator, you would end up with 31.666% recurring. So I would probably round that to 31.7%. The next one, we're looking for 4 weeks of a year, and a year is 52 weeks. So we're going to do 4 over 52 and times it by 100. And again, if you type that into a calculator, that's going to give you 7.69 with a load of other numbers after it. So if I'm rounding it to one decimal, I'm going to put 7.7%. And our last one is 245 grams of 5 kilograms. So we need to convert the kilograms to grams, so that's going to be 5,000. So I'm going to do 245 over 5,000 and then times whatever I get by 100. That's going to give me 4.9%. So there's an important equation here to know, which is how we measure percentage change, or how much something is increased or decreased by, and it's what we were just doing, which is the change over the original amount times 100. So in our first example on the last slide where we had £3 of £10, we're looking for 3 over our original amount and then times it by 100. So it's what we've just done. So the last thing we're going to try in today's video is these worded questions. So I've got 2 here for you to try, so pause the video and then we'll go through the answers. In a storm, 144 bushes were left standing out of 180 bushes. What is the percentage decrease in the number of bushes? So there's 2 ways to do this. The first way is to look at how many we've got left. So we're going to do 144 divided by 180 times 100, which will give us 80%, which means that there's 20% that are missing, that decreased. The other way is to go, right, okay, we had a decrease of 36, so I'm going to do 36 over my original amount, which was 180. I'm going to times that by 100, and that would give me 20%. So 2 ways. It's going to give you the same answer. It's just making sure that you know what the question is asking you, which in this case, it's asking me the decrease in the number. The next question is a javelin thrower has a best throw of 60 metres. In the next competition, he throws 72 metres. What is the percentage increase of his personal best? So he's had an increase in 12 metres. So we're going to do 12 over 60 times 100, which is going to give us 20%. So he increased his throw by 20%.